Hi everybody, I'm here with extraordinary composer Natalie Dietterich and guitarist Jiji, and we're here to talk to you about this extraordinary concert we have coming up on December 2nd. We're going to be premiering a piece written by Natalie Dietterich called Light Beloved. It's a concerto for both classical and electric guitar, the first ever to be written by a woman and also the very first ever to be performed in Carnegie Hall. It's going to be an extraordinary time. The piece really rocks, and it's at December 2nd at 2 p.m., and you can get the tickets at carnegiehall.org and also more information at NYYS.org. We really hope to see you there with the New York Youth Symphony. I wanted to do something totally different, and that's what we've done here. I knew we wanted it to be a concerto that used both the electric and classical guitar, and so I had found somebody who does both electric and classical guitar well, and it's just kind of crazy that you knew each other.
I know,
before,
I think it was totally destiny, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were living together at that time too, when you guys called, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
Don't tell Natalie.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I live together.
I really wanted to write something for Jiji, and I felt it was amazing that to know her before this. So I felt like I already had a sense of like what I could write that would really capture her personality as a person, as a performer, and part of the reason why there are a few different kind of sections and textures in here are to really to show off a lot of those aspects about you and your playing.
I mean, that's the best.
Crazy. I'm so happy that
and she introduced me to the best music, in like within this concerto realm, repertoire, suggestions, what have you, but also just like awesome music in general outside of the classical tradition.
We listen to a lot of pop music too.
Yeah, that's right. Awesome.
Cardi B, you introduced me to that. It's been amazing to be able to go back and forth with you in particular, but also to do that a little bit with the orchestra, which is a very uncommon thing, like post deadline, a few changes, and I've appreciated your flexibility.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I think that music is meant to be adjusted, and you never really know exactly how anything is going to sound until you get in with the instrument, and it's important to be able to make those changes when you need to make them. Yeah, were you experienced before with Red for the technique of the guitar?
It's really good to get my hands around the instrument for the harmonics, just to see all of what's possible, more than one note at once, because you can say, oh, these harmonics are great, but they might not lie within, a place where you can reach that feasibly with your left hand.
Right.
So I think it was important to get into the instrument in that way for me.
I remember sending her these etude books just so she can know like what kind of figures can be done in a classical guitar writing.
Sure.
So that's Villalobos etudes.
It's exciting to be able to do something beyond an orchestra piece. You applied all these things, and you're like, oh, cool. You have this. You have like an open forum, essentially, all the instruments that you could want. But wait, there's more. It was a focal point that I could say, okay, I have like a clear. Not immediate, but a clearer direction of the things that I could do with this than I could with an orchestra piece. It's just so open.
Yeah.
So say, and to focus on the guitar like that is really a cool challenge.
Super cool. I felt that, I'm curious to know sort of your thoughts on this too, that for the orchestra, because it was so groovy at the beginning, it took a little bit of time for them to latch on to the rhythm, but once they understood it, and once it became cerebral to them, it was like totally groovy. At the beginning of the last rehearsal, it was the same sort of thing where it takes a little bit of time to get into it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, they totally get it. You know what I mean? And so that's, I think, one of the power of this piece is that it becomes instantly approachable as soon as you sort of get into the groove.
Totally.
It's really hard on the page because nothing quite fits within the measures. And you have to be like, okay, how is this supposed to breathe and phrase? Things like that.
Right.
It's tricky. It was really hard to come up with those time signatures.
Yeah, I'm curious what was the impetus?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, it was kind of like a back and forth with every measure, and it has to
for you musicians out there, there's a piece that's got lots of 3/4, 9/16, 5/8, 3/8, all over the place, all kinds of mixed meter.
Yeah. So it was hard to kind of justify and figure out common time signatures that would work well for everyone in the orchestra, because there are times where there's like a 12/16 feel in one instrument, like, you know, in Gigi's part, she'll have like this running kind of 12/16 gesture, and then the percussion's in 3/4.
Yeah.
Right. So so a lot of it was, how do I justify making this as easy as possible for the orchestra, and then trying to get rid of those odd 9/16 bars as much as possible. You know, trying to keep kind of a steady pulse and not change that too much. But there were points where you just couldn't justify. You know, I would have to change the material itself to fit into a bar better, which is not the goal.
From the start of writing it, did you know that you wanted the first half, the section with the classical guitar, to be very groovy, very dance-like? Was that sort of like an immediate area that you went to?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually thought the beginning was going to be on electric.
Oh, okay.
And then I realized that it didn't need that sort of power, and then the intimacy that you can get from all of those, the fast motion on the fingers as opposed to a pick, I think was really led well to the acoustic. Yeah. So, but yeah, I did want to have something like super groovy in the beginning, and then transform into something really, really powerful.
Yeah, is it the first time you've ever played a piece of music that required you to play both classical and electric within such a short time frame?
This is the first time ever.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So that's kind of like the exciting thing. Yeah. Switching to the electric guitar was definitely kind of something that I've worked a lot, like kind of choreographing. Okay, putting the classical guitar down and then standing up.
Right.
You know, that's actually, like a different persona. Like I have to put in a different persona. And it's like a performance aspect, right? It's
that's so interesting.
It's like embodying this different energy. Like I'm sitting down, I'm playing classical, something that's like totally acoustic.
Yeah, and very intimate too, because the opening section with the acoustic is only for a few instruments.
Yeah, it's thinner, like picture's thinner, and then you have the second movement, or like, the middle section is like really vulnerable and beautiful and extremely just tight with the heart. And and then coming out from that, I have to just stand up and play very boastfully and totally different energy. I'm just I have to go like this. And
it's in the score.
It's in the
score. Wave your hair everywhere. The sound is totally different. Like you have distortion sound, and it's totally different soundscape, and you just have. I think that was the hardest part, just making that work or making that transition being convincing.
Well, one thing that this project sort of set out to do was to, the New York Youth Symphony has done a new piece on every single concert going back decades. I don't think that there's another orchestra that has that level of commitment to new music as a ratio of the amount of concerts that we perform. It's really extraordinary. And so what I really wanted to do was further diversify that by creating music that nobody had heard. A type of music, a completely new genre of music that nobody had heard before. So I'm thankful to both of you for being game to participate in that and take charge of it.
Thank you so much for listening, and I'm looking forward to shred in front of you guys.
I'm so excited to share my piece with everyone.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to share it with you. So December 2nd at Carnegie Hall, very first ever electric and classical guitar concerto to be performed there and written by Natalie Dietterich. Very, very excited. December 2nd, 2 p.m. Tickets at carnegiehall.org. See you there.